What is up, everybody? It is Wick here, and I got a great video today. A couple months ago, I made a video about rare and valuable Blu-rays you could look out for, make some good profit on them. People were asking for a video game video, and I said I would do it, and well, I'm finally getting around to doing that. The summer garage sale rush is over, so I have a bit more time. Who am I kidding? I don't have any time because I have so much to list, but here is the video nonetheless. But if you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, but let's jump into it. The first one we're going to talk about is Deadpool on the PlayStation 4. I sold this fairly recently for $75. I guess it's been about a year since I've sold it. Found it at a garage sale, paid like $20 for a bunch of video games, and this one was in there. Now it's went up quite a bit since I've sold mine. I guess because of the Deadpool Wolverine movie could have something to do with it, or maybe just because it's a limited supply game, it's desirable, collectible, and it just causes the price to go up over time. You see now it's selling for like $170, $180, pre-owned complete. Also, this video is not going to focus on cartridge-based games, the older stuff. I want to focus a bit more on newer stuff like PlayStation 2 and up, because that's the stuff that you're really starting to see at garage sales on a normal basis, thrift stores, where 99% of the games are not worth much at all resale, but they have some really good gems. But yeah, Deadpool, around $150 game right now. Probably could have got about double for it if I would have held on to it. I am a game collector, but I do collect the old stuff. So I figured I'd just go ahead and flip this one right when I found it. Wanted to throw this in the video. This is Concord on PlayStation 5. Very modern. Anyone who follows video games recently knows Sony spent $400 million on this game. It was a massive flop. Like a week or two after it went live, they shut it down, the live service part. So obviously, the game itself is selling for quite a bit now. You got $50,000 best offer at $25,000. Those prices are obviously way too high. But the game is still selling for like $100, $200. You got some people grading these even. Here's one new for $500. I don't think that they're selling really for $500 right now, but there's a controller that was released as well, the Concord controller, which actually looks pretty cool. Needless to say, I don't think they'll be making any more of those controllers, so if you can find any, you might be able to find them at some video game places, some stores like a Meijer, possibly Walmart would still have some in stock that end up going on clearance. If you can snag one, you definitely want to do it. I think this stuff's just going to go up over time in value because it was such a massive thing that happened in video games. So one of the biggest failures that I can remember anyway. A lot of this stuff is new. Let's see kind of what they're selling for pre-owned. Looks like the controllers still around $200. The game about $100, $150 for a controller, $95 new other. Pre-owned $100. I mean, maybe you could even find this in GameStop. They probably are going to catch it and price it higher, but some smaller brick and mortar gaming stores, maybe. Or maybe some kid got it for a birthday gift, unknowing parents, and then couldn't play it 2 weeks later, and it just ended up in a garage sale for $1/4. Here's a game I have sold before a few times. NCAA Football 14, pretty popular in the reseller community. I think I've talked about it on the channel before. I know I have when I found it. But so many times you go to sales, you go to thrift stores, all you see is sports games. Pretty much every sports game is worthless in terms of resale value. There are a few good ones, and I will have some more even in this video. NCAA Football 14. Looks like complete here, sold for $90. And I think that's about what I sold mine for. Seems like I sold mine for over $100. And it looks like the price has come down some on these. I believe it's a licensing thing is why it went up so much. It was the last college football game you could actually play. But I think something's changed with the licensing on college football. I think they're going to be making new games or something. Maybe that's why the price has come down a little. Still, it's a great game to look out for. NCAA Football 14. Pretty much everybody has heard of Fortnite, right? We got the Fortnite PS4 here, selling for crazy money because it ended up becoming just a download-only game. It was became free to play. But before all that, they actually released it and had like a single-player part of the game. But the other part that wasn't single-player was what was popular and kind of blew up for them and became $1 billion, empire for Epic Games, right? I remember a couple years ago, a friend of mine had PS4 Fortnite. We were talking about how it went up in value. It was selling for like $100, $150 then. They went up quite a bit. Now these are selling for $500. Do have unused codes that came with them, just for Fortnite skins and stuff like that. Even without the code though, you're looking at $150 to $200 for a complete game. I should mention any video games that had special codes with them, if the code actually hasn't been used and can still be used, can really bring out a lot of extra profit. And you can check the codes and see if they've been used, typically by going online and checking. But here's a physical copy that sold for $144.49. And I feel like a lot of people know about Fortnite. Even gamers might not realize the Fortnite physical editions actually are worth quite a bit of money. I have to mention Xenosaga 3 because, well, I found this a couple times out in the wild. One time at an estate sale, complete, and then just the disc at a rummage sale. Still holding on to it, haven't let it go, but it's about a $300 game. If you have this special cover, which I can't even remember at this point what cover I had, but it is worth more money. Actually, I think that's like over here. Here it is. I don't know if you can see it. I don't even know if my camera's working right now, honestly. Case is filthy. It does look like I have the special cover based on what I'm seeing here. Maybe not. Maybe it is just I think it's supposed to be more holographic. $300 game though, so I need to switch that case because it's got like rust on it or something. At some point, I'll probably sell it. I'm not too attached to PlayStation 2 games, but if I can find it twice, I'm sure some of you can find it out in the wild as well. So here's a game I just actually shipped out today. This is Silent Hill Origins on the PlayStation 2. Mine did not have the manual, but I was still able to sell it for $125. It left the country. I think it went to Canada. So I was able to get a little bit more for it. I priced it, high just because it was a rare game. With the manual, I probably could have got $150, $175. Disc was in good condition. So it was a fast flip. Maybe 2 days is all it took to sell. But honestly, any kind of horror game on PlayStation or any system should be looked at because it's just like VHS and DVDs. Some of them will go for incredible money. So anytime you see a horror game, it's just worth keeping an eye out for. And you can see very consistent in sales, very sought after, Silent Hill Origins. But even better than Silent Hill Origins is Silent Hill Shattered Memories. And this is one of the most expensive games on the PlayStation 2, I believe, $400 pre-owned and complete. So just phenomenal, right? Some of these horror games, and I would love to find this. I'm gonna have to check because I've bought so many games over the years that I could have this in my collection. A lot of them didn't get logged into my price charting, the ones I held on to anyway. Over the past 12 years, prices do change, so I might even have another copy of Silent Hill Origins. But since we're on the subject of video games, let's talk about the strategy guides as well. There's some very good strategy guides, obviously, for the games like Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Obviously, since Silent Hill Shattered Memories is an expensive game, you're going to be able to sell a strategy guide for a lot, right? Just makes sense. Sometimes it's probably harder to find the strategy guide over the game. It's just not as many people want a strategy guide, but still $200 for a strategy guide is pretty good. And if you look, there's some other good strategy guides that are worth a decent amount of money. There's Xenogears. I think I have that strategy guide actually. $150. Of course, there's Silent Hill Origins, $140. I know I have the Final Fantasy VIII strategy guide, still original from when I was a kid, and I don't know what the Final Fantasy VII strategy guide sells for. There's new, $105, but I have that. I remember buying the game, and it came with the strategy guide and the t-shirt, which I still have. The t-shirt's worth like $300, I think. Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game of all time, so I'm glad I have all that stuff still. You might not be aware, but Godzilla on PS4 is worth a good amount of money. Here's some sealed copies, $650, $750. Now this is a game, again, PlayStation 4, not that long ago, pretty much within the last 10 years. A lot of people are finally selling their PS4s. You're seeing this stuff more and more at garage sales, thrift stores. I even noticed that Goodwill, a lot of times, they don't ship in these newer games like Xbox 360, which isn't that new now, but PlayStation 4, PS3, they don't sell them on Shop Goodwill. I guess they just figure it's not worth it. Some stores anyway. So this kind of stuff can slip through the cracks. And you know what? I feel like I found a Godzilla game at a garage sale and I sold it. I think it might have been a different one. I just can't remember exactly. If I did, I didn't sell it for this much. But if you go down here, you can see pre-owned. There's one for $300, pre-owned $284.99. And yes, you could find this stuff new as well. And this past year, I found some new games. I also got a new Sega game, still sealed. So the stuff's out there. It's just not easy to find, right? But anyone can go to any garage sale and just happen to come across this stuff, or a thrift store. And I've talked about Godzilla before, obviously on the channel. There's some really good Godzilla stuff to look for. Here's another one of those sports games that just doesn't seem like it'd be worth it. And honestly, I don't know why this one is priced a bit higher, but this is College Hoops on the Xbox 360, or College Hoops 2K8 specifically. March Madness. Pre-owned, there's one for $97.95, disc only $100. Some that are saying brand new, I'm assuming they're not actually brand new if they sold them for $85, because what are you doing? I'm also seeing like some of these people are selling them brand new. They have zero feedback, right? One thing with video games is a lot of inexperienced people selling them, so a lot of this stuff's not actually new. But just another great sports game to look out for. You know, today in Goodwill, they had a bunch of sports games, and I was looking for these exact types of games. I was like, come on, come on, come on. But they weren't there. Here's another PS4 game, fairly newer game you can look out for, Ultimate Marvel and Capcom, or Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom 3. Looking great new, and even pre-owned once we get down here, $145, $140 for a new one. Pre-owned $130, so certainly not bad at all. Here's a Spiderman game, and this one was kind of surprising to me. I recently learned about this one, and I feel like this is one that I might pass, because I don't know what Spider-Man game I'm thinking of that's not worth as much, but generally there's quite a few Spider-Man games, and none of them are worth even close to this much. So if I was at a garage sale, you know, looking through before I knew this, and games were priced high, like $5 or $10 for PS3 games, I saw that Spider-Man, I'd probably just say that's not worth it and move on. Which also I don't have in this video, but there's a Wolverine game as well, PS3, that sells well. It's right there. But new, a lot of these are around $300, $200, but pre-owned $150, $160 seems to be the sweet spot on these. Armored Core is a PS3 game I'd love to find. Armored Core 5. A lot of these Armored Core games started going up once the newest one came out. This one is still pretty good. One of the newer ones, so it's still fresh out there, still easy to find at garage sales. Easy in quotations. Here's another one of these sports games, probably a bit more unbelievable than NCAA 14, right? You got FIFA 14, the Legacy Edition on PS2. And this is another one I kind of recently learned about. I had no idea. And to think of how many FIFA games I've passed over the years on PlayStation, where I'm like, FIFA, you know, Madden. FIFA 14, pretty easy to remember because of NCAA 14. Legacy Edition, I'm not even sure if there's a non-Legacy Edition. Honestly, I'm assuming there probably is, but still really good for being a FIFA game, right? And a lot of these are out of country. Like, there's not very many, is there? Very scarce game, but it's looking like it's about $120, $135 new. So I think this is kind of funny. I don't think I've talked about it on the channel, but this is a game I got back in the 90s when they had them in the Chex cereal, Chex Quest. And I thought, you know what, I'll put that in the video because it holds some value. And when I went on here, I noticed that Limited Run Games has remade this, because I guess a lot of people like me remember this from their childhood. Just a cereal box game, but it was actually kind of good, kind of has a cult following. And Limited Run Games, they make weird physical copies of games like this, right? If you're not familiar. And a lot of limited run stuff is worth quite a bit of money, you know, but the actual non-limited run, the original, like this one here, the vintage 1996 AOL Chex Quest, you know, they had to advertise AOL on there as well. You know, still around $20, $30, so it's not worth a lot, but it's just crazy how some of these old shovelware type advertisement games that you get in cereal boxes that would advertise America Online are still out there. People haven't thrown them away. You might find them at a flea market, and they're starting to get a pretty good collector's value going on with some of this stuff. Here's a Nintendo Wii game, Rhythm Heaven Fever. This one's about a $150 game pre-owned. And if there's one thing about Wii's and Wii games, that's what I find the most out in the wild right now. I think everyone had a Wii. It seems like every family. I think it was the best-selling video game system of all time, right? It seems like I've heard that somewhere. So it makes sense. I think they also have the most amount of games, 99% of them being absolute trash. Here is one that actually holds some value. Def Jam Fight for New York is a PlayStation 2 game featuring a bunch of rappers from late 90s, early 2000s who fight each other. Don't know a whole lot about it. I remember, you know, when it came out and stuff like that. Was never interested in it. Should have bought about 20 sealed copies and held on to them, it looks like, because pre-owned they're selling for about $200. And there's different ones. Vendetta, which actually is pretty good as well. Here's a random thing I didn't know about, just popped up here. Teen Titans OG on Xbox, $200. That might be something to keep an eye out for. I would just assume a Teen Titans game wouldn't be worth a whole lot just looking at it without knowing. Def Jam's also on, GameCube and some other consoles as well. Here's a game I sold a month or two ago. This is one I actually found in Goodwill. $2.99, a sports game not marked up. This is NFL Blitz, the League 2. Actually, I don't think it's NFL licensed, but possibly. I'm not sure. I sold mine for, I think, $80. This one's 70, 70, 75. Maybe I sold mine for 75. It might be past the 90 days. I don't know if mine would be here or not. Here's another one of those crazy PlayStation 2 games. Futurama, $399. Now, this one I knew about just because I've talked about Futurama stuff on the videos before. There's a lot of good plush and toys you can look for Futurama. If you see it, worth researching. I know Futurama's recently come back on the air and stuff, and they probably made some newer stuff that's not worth it. But I think I sold a plush for like $45 one time. Something else, some sort of toy, some sort of Bender toy, I believe. It's hard to keep track of everything I sold, but for a lot of people, Futurama's on PlayStation 2, if you see it, it's just going to look like a just basic game, because you can look at Futurama, then you can look at Family Guy or The Simpsons, and there are a couple of good Simpsons games, but something similar like that, and it's just worth nothing, right? So it's good to know this kind of stuff, know what's currently valuable, stuff you can just pick out in the wild. We have to talk about the Haunting Ground as well. I talked about the horror games, Silent Hill, just some big money in these, which just reminded me of another one, possibly the most valuable game out there, or at least for the PlayStation 2. I'll have to put that in after this here. But this one's pre-owned, $400. It's right up there with Silent Hill, Shattered Memories. So again, keep an eye out for that horror stuff. So here's the one that just popped in my head. Kuon for PlayStation 2. Also a horror game and new even pre-owned. Man, this one's went up in value. $950, $900. Another one, $900 with 36 bids. Would love to find this one, right? This past year I found Metal Storm in the box complete with everything, even the poster. Great condition. So that's like a $900 to $1,000 game set up like that. So that was a great find for me game wise this year, but finding this as well would be great, because flip it for $800, $900. Here's another good one, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. There's two different ones. One comes with a bonus disc, one does not. One that has the bonus disc, $240. I do currently have this one in my collection. I believe I have all three. You can see all three sold here for $241. Without the bonus disc, it's still around $100, maybe even $150 a game now, or maybe even $200. This one's still bonus disc. So certainly worth looking for. Dragon Ball Z games in general, pretty sought after. Not going to get like tons of money on all of them, but the third one of this Tenkaichi series is pretty good. But there it is, everybody. Those are a bunch of games I'm always actively looking for. There's a lot more, so if you do enjoy this type of video, hit the like button. Let me know if you'd like to see more. I am going to go back and do another video on more Blu-rays to look for as well, because like I say, if you're at a garage sale or a rummage sale, you don't have that much time. Usually though, if there's video games, I just grab them if they're cheap enough at a rummage sale and throw them in the bag, right? Sort them out later. If you're getting them for $1 or $2, it's usually worth it just to buy them. If you don't know anything about video games, pick them up, take them into a dark corner, and start doing some research. But again, if you did find this content useful and enjoyable, hit that like button for me. Make sure you're subscribed. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, flipping_junk. And this has been Wick. Till next time.